Hey everybody, it's Miranda here from the Swirlydoos Education Design Team, and I'm going to be making a project with you guys today, and this is my first time doing this, so kind of experimental, but I've seen these altered spools, or handmade spools even, that people have been doing. They've been around for quite some time, and I've always said I wanted to try those, so I finally decided to give it a go. There's a few people who've done them that are just amazing. So I'm just starting from scratch, and I took a Spellbinders Nestability circle die that I had, and it was the largest one in the set, and I cut 6 pieces of like cereal chipboard, you know, that your cereal comes in. So it looks like this, because I wanted to layer them together so it's thick, but those Spellbinders, they won't cut through like heavyweight chipboard. So I'm just going to glue these together, and then you're going to need something for the center of your spool. And what I did is I took a spray bottle that I had in my stash that I'd done some homemade glimmer mist a long time ago, and let me show you a other one. And I just took my Tim Holtz scissors and cut a straight line all the way off to here. So this is going to be the center of it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to glue these 3 pieces of chipboard together. And then what I also did with the other one, because it kind of started curving, the chipboard did, and I wanted it to be, you know, perfectly flat to look right, I ran it back through my Big Shot with like an extra shim, and it just flattened it out. I ran it through a couple of times and it just flattened it out completely. And just a little tip, if you guys are ever wanting to flatten something out and it is small enough, run it through your Big Shot and it will completely do that for you. Okay, so I'm just gluing these together with some fabric tack. It's my glue of choice when I'm not using hot glue. Okay, and then I've also cut 4 pieces of the Fairy Rhymes paper out from our kit this month, and it looks like this super pretty paper. So I've been trying to use color lately besides ones that I typically do, and this has a really pretty purple, so it's challenging me to use some purple, which I want to do. I'm also going to be using some of the engraver line as well. So I'm not going to distress these or anything because I need them to cover the, you know, whole part of the cereal box. And then I'm going to ink the edges with some gesso, or not ink them, paint them with some gesso to soften it up and make sure that no part is showing through of that cereal board. So I'm just going to glue these to the tops and bottoms of my circles so that everything's nice and clean and pretty. I think they make, you know, little spool kits. I can't remember what the brand was, but I want to say they actually make like a little kit you can buy to make one of these. But you can totally just be resourceful and use stuff you have around the house. I'm all about recycling, y'all. I always save my cereal, cracker boxes, anything like that to use for chipboard. It's the best thing. Great for recycling. I'm just going to adhere these down. And if anybody's wondering, that was Chocolate Lucky Charms is my cereal box. That is my absolute favorite cereal. And this is what I do, you guys. I buy 2 boxes of it, and then I pick all of the marshmallows out of one box and place them into the other one. So that way I have a ton of marshmallows in one box. Isn't that sad, y'all? Okay, so these are glued on there. I'm going to let it sit for a second so the glue is completely set and it's not moving. My pieces of paper aren't moving on top of there. And then we're going to do the sides of them with some gesso. Okay, I'm just going to use some gesso from a past kit with Swirlydoos. With the tech kits, we always get usually gesso or some kind of medium. I'm just using a sponge brush to go around my edges. Going up on the top of it a little bit too, just to kind of blend that out. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about foam brushes. I, for one, love them. They're only like 50 cents, so if I ruin one, forget to, you know, wash it immediately and it dries, it's no big deal. You know, it's so inexpensive. But these things retain a lot of gesso, and I think it just makes it stretch a lot further. You know, when you're working on a project, you don't have to dip as much into your container of paint or gesso, whatever you're using with these. Just going to blend it inward on the bottom too. And this is just covering up any cardboard that might have been showing and just giving it a nice soft edge too. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other circle. Okay, well, I'm waiting on that paint to dry. I'm going to go ahead and start adhering my paper around my plastic bottle. And because this is plastic, it doesn't want to, you know, paper doesn't want to adhere to plastic very well. So I did sand it a little bit, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference. I'm just going to have to take my time and put the Fabri-Tac on here and hold it in place for a little while before I go on. It just doesn't like to adhere to like a non-porous surface, you know. Just wants to slide all over the place. I'm going to take my time with it and just let this part sit here for a while until this glue is completely dry. And I'm just going to keep rolling as I go all the way around until this is covered. Okay, now I'm going to glue my spool together, and I'm going to use Fabri-Tac on the bottom all the way around it, but then I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue in the center, so while it's drying it will still stay in the same spot and not move around. And I'm just eyeballing, trying to figure out where the center of this is, so it may not be perfect, but looks good to me. Okay, and for the top part, there's nothing here besides the edges, so I'm going to put a pretty liberal amount of the Fabri-Tac there, and then I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue again. But you definitely want to let this dry completely before you start decorating it. And you know, if there's any little glue that's seeping out, you can go in with your fingernail from the bottom side and just fix that. Looks good to me. I'm just going to take my fingernail and go around it and get any of that glue that's seeping out, which there's not much. Okay, so this is what we got so far. Okay, for one of my embellishments I have this little chipboard hot air balloon, and I've gessoed the entire thing, and then I also went over it with frayed burlap, especially the back because that's not going to be covered with paper. And you can make pretty much anything 3D. I have a tutorial on how to make like a 3D dress form out of the Tim Holtz die. You can take anything and make it 3D just by, you know, cutting it out and then folding a couple of pieces up and then just placing them like this. So I'm just going to do a little bit. I mean, you can add as much to make it as full as you want, but I'm just going to do 3 pieces. So I've cut the basket out 3 times, and I've cut the top part of the balloon out 3 times. So I'm just going to line this one with paper and get my Fabri-Tac. Okay, I'm going to put my second piece on, and I'm just going to use hot glue for this because it dries quickly and it makes it much stronger. Okay. Okay. And you just fold them up tighter as you go, and you can put as many as you want. Okay, so you can see how that gives it like a 3D look. I'm going to do the same thing for the basket. Now to get this middle part, I want it to be, you know, blend in with the paper. So I'm taking some tissue tape And I'm just adhering it on here in little strips. Okay, now comes the embellishing stage. And I've went ahead and grabbed a few things that I want to use on here. And I'm going to put some lace around the edge of my spool. Okay, I want to wrap some pearls around the spool, so I'm going to get them started on the bottom of it. I don't want it to cover up the center part completely, but just part of the way. I've got a tangle here, so I'm just going to cut this part off. Hold on one second. Okay, so I'm just going to put a bead of glue just to get it started. I'm just going to start wrapping it around. And I'm going to put just a little bit of glue sometimes, just so it will stay in place. And I'm putting the glue on the part that's not going to show, like this is going to be my front, so I'm putting the glue dots just in case they show through on the back part. Okay, I'm going to get a little looser with it. Well, I'm going to go around one more time. Now I'm just going to get looser with it. Okay, I'm just going to continue embellishing it, y'all. Just placing some different items all the way around it. Alright y'all, I'm pretty much done. I'm just going to take a scrap of the paper from the Fairy Rhymes collection, and I'm punching a few butterflies out just to add on to here. I always save all my scraps of paper because like even like this one, you can go in and use it for your flower punches or your butterflies. So save all your scraps, okay? I always ink the edges of my little butterflies with frayed burlaps just to define the edges a little bit. Okay, y'all, so this is pretty much it. I really had fun with this little project, and it's, you know, a challenge for me to use different colors, so I'm kind of having fun with the purple and everything. A little more shabby than my typical style. I'm more of a girly vintage grunge, but this was really fun, so I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial, and we'll give it a try. If you have any questions at all, just leave me a comment down below. Thanks for watching, y'all. Bye.